Welcome to Bits and Pieces Quilting. Mom and I have been busy, 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 and we have another quilt to share, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm Michelle,
Hi, Mary Mom.
and Mom's here with me as well. And we have been super busy. This is the second quilt that we have put together this weekend. I'm just visiting, so we've got to get all our time in while we can. This one's called Twinkling Stars, and wait till you see the finished product. It looks so beautiful, but it's so simple. So dive in with us and let's make this quilt. For the Twinkling Stars baby quilt, this is our fabric pull. We actually went to the fabric store today and bought them there. But they've been washed and ironed and washed and dried and pressed and ready now for the Twinkling Stars. I think they're going to be super pretty. This really soft mix of florals and pastels. And as always, we go to the notebook where the math has been worked out. We're going to have 24 blocks. So we need 12 9-patch blocks and 12 with twinkling stars. So this is not complicated at all. And as always, you can get the free pattern on my website at www.bitsandpiecesquilting.com. There'll be more instructions than just this little chicken scratch, I promise. We are going to cut them at 3.5 inches square for the focal fabrics. And then the background fabric to make the stars, the center of the stars is 3.5 inches. And then the little star leg pieces are 2 inches. So I'm going to get cutting and we're going to get sewing, but we'll pause halfway through and show you how we're making these blocks for the Twinkling Stars quilt. To make the star point blocks, we're going to use the sew and flip technique. So I have a 3.5-inch square and a 2-inch square. And these little 2-inch squares just go onto the corner of the 3.5-inch square, and then you sew diagonally from point to point. You can fold this and iron a crease. You can draw a pencil line, or you can use diagonal seam tape on your sewing machine. But let me take you over to Mom's sewing machine and show you what we're using. Here we are at Mom's sewing machine, and I've just put a little piece of low stick tape from her craft room. I've drawn a line, just used a ruler and a pencil to draw a straight line down that piece of tape, and then I've lined it up right here. There's a mark on her bobbin cover, so I know exactly where to put that line so that it lines up perfectly. And then I'm able to put the point here that I want to start at and the point that I want to end at along that line, and then run it under the presser foot. Let me see if I could, there we go. And then so long as that line, that point, follows the line under the presser foot, I am going to get a nice straight seam across that diagonal. Once your corner is sewn, you have a couple of options. You can use a rotary cutter to cut it off, or you can use just a pair of scissors to cut it off. But I always press first. So I'm going to just go over to the iron and give this a good press, and I'll show you why after I come back. Now that my piece is pressed, can you see where it's just not quite perfect? That's the front, and if I flip it over, you can see where that sticks out a little, and then this is sticking out a little. I'm using my original pink piece as my guide, as my indicator of how accurate my piecing is. This is absolutely not worth redoing, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take the scissors and just slice along here and probably trim up there, and then I will pull this front piece back and then cut that off with just a little bit of a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And so here's my piece all trimmed up, those little overhang pieces, and then if I flip this over, you can see that I've cut off that extra bulk from the back in order to get my first snowballed corner. These are 2 inches because this block is 3.5, and I want them to overlap by a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go sew the other one, do exactly the same thing, trim it up, and I'll show you what it looks like. So that's the second piece sewn on, and if I flip it over, you can see I did a slightly better job. I don't have the overhang here, and I'm not going to bother trimming off that tiny little piece at the top. So I'm just going to cut off the extra corner, and that block is done. And this is the only block that we need to make, the only unit we need to make in order to make the twinkling star blocks. This is the block we're looking to make with 4 star point blocks, a plain center, and then the 4 corner pieces. And I was thinking, how do I randomize the colors across the whole block? So what I've done is I've laid out my fabrics all across the top of my cutting board. I've got the plain fabrics plus the Starlake fabrics, and then numbers 1 through 8. I kind of have them numbered in my mind, starting from here at 1, 2, 3, all the way down. And then I thought, let me lay them out in an organized way. So block color 1 goes into position 1, position 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's Mom's feet as she's watching me do this. Hi, Mom. And so then with 1 through 8 in the first block, to go to the second block, I started with the second fabric. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, back to 1. And then the third block, I started with my third color and put it here in this position, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2. This way, I think I'm guaranteed to have at least 8 blocks that are completely different because each fabric will end up in one of those 8 positions for those first 8 blocks. And I only need 12 twinkling star blocks for this project, so with 8 of them guaranteed to be completely different, then I only have to self-randomize 4 more blocks. And I'm going to do the same when we get to the other 9 patch blocks, which just don't have the star legs or the star center. They're just going to be 9 patch blocks. So there'll be one fabric that's repeated in each of those blocks, but we didn't choose 9 fabrics. So that's how we're going to do it. And I think this is going to give me a really nice, easy to do randomization without having to overthink the process. I hope. And this is the final Twinkling Stars quilt. I'd hoped to have it quilted to show you, but things have gotten a little busy, so this is the quilt top. Really happy with the way this project has turned out. It's super simple, but I think the effect is really dramatic. I really like the stars that dance across this project. I will make this again myself and I will make it scrappy, but I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. This is the baby size. And if you go to my website at www.bitsandpiecesquilting.com, you'll be able to download this as a free pattern. And the pattern will also include all of the measurements that you need to make it a larger quilt for a larger person. This is the baby size, and there'll also be a throw size in the pattern. Thanks very much for joining us. I hope you liked the twinkling stars. Mom's picked these beautiful fabrics as a baby quilt, and I'm sure whoever's going to receive it is going to love it.
Yes, they will.
Awesome. Thanks so much, and don't forget to make the most of your fabric bits and pieces.